All right, welcome back to an episode of Guitar Fundamentals. Today we're going to be talking about dipping your toes into bluegrass. And bluegrass ain't no joke, all right? It's an upper echelon style of playing. There's a lot of speed. There's a lot of like know-how and things that sometimes don't make sense when you're studying it from different perspectives. And so we're just going to dip our toes in, a generalized version of bluegrass. So if you're interested in the genre, you can see these things happening in a lot of the songs, and then you can branch out and learn a little different nuances. So with that being said, make sure you share and subscribe. Let's get down into bluegrass. Now, when I first launched StichMethod, 4.5 years ago, I mentioned how I was studying bluegrass, and I did that for a little bit, but then, life happens, and I kind of, stopped studying bluegrass. And I want to do some bluegrass songs, or in the minds of, on my channel, and I was like, you know what, I think laying a foundation down of what bluegrass is and how to look at it is really going to help when we break down some famous bluegrass songs. Bluegrass mainly, all right, we're going to talk about the chords first, all right? Mainly use G, C, and D. You're also going to see an F chord in there sometimes, all right? And we're going to talk about that. But the first thing we're going to talk about is the fact that bluegrass, not only is it G, C's, and D's, but there's speed behind it. And I just made a video about getting faster. If you're not fast, you can still play a slowed down version of bluegrass. It doesn't have to be fast. Like, bluegrass players are really strong prowess players, right? They can do it, but if you can't play that fast, it's okay. You can still get the flavor of it. And so let's look at those chords. Why are we seeing those chords in bluegrass? Well, we have a G, a C, and a D. That is a 1-4-5 in the key of G, all right? You're also going to see an F chord. Now, there's many ways to explain this F chord. I'll explain it two ways. If you just totally go whew, that's fine. Just pick me up on the other side, all right? And so 1, 4, and 5. Well, a lot of people say the F is the flat 7 of G. Sure, it absolutely is. You have a G here, major 7th is the F sharp, and the 7th, or flat 7, excuse me, is the F. So a lot of people say it's a 1, 4, and 5 with a flat 7. And you'll see that the F usually is the chord that's not in the song the most. It's usually G's, C's, and D's, and a little bit of F to a G, all right? Or there's a little bit of an F in there. Now, I have a video somewhere in the annals of StichMethod about having 4 major chords per key. And you can see it many different ways. You can see that the G, C, and D is in the key of G. That's the 1, 4, and 5. You can also see that the F is a borrowed chord from the key of C, which is C, F, and G is the 1, 4, and 5. Now, these are parallel keys in the circle of fifths, and it's not uncommon to kind of play a 1, 4, and 5 in one key and kind of grab the missing chord and bring it in. So, you have G, C, and D, the key of G, and you have the key of C where the F chord, the 1, 4, and 5, excuse me, are C, F, and G, and you can see how that F fits in with the C and the G chord. And so no matter how you think of it, that's the reality of the usual chord sets you see in bluegrass. Now let's just talk about something physical that happens in bluegrass. I mentioned that it is a fast genre. If you want to practice getting a little bit faster, I do highly suggest you take your thumb and you play your G chord and you keep your thumb locked, and then you keep your thumb where it is and you go to your C chord, and you keep your thumb where it is and go to your D chord. All right? Just being able to lock down and anchor your thumb is huge. Instead of doing this, this, and this, where everything's kind of moving around, you're taking away precious nanoseconds of movement. And so being able to kind of keep your thumb anchored is going to help you develop some fast chord changes. When you go to the F, you can kind of keep your thumb there if you want to, right? But anchoring, that's a key thing to helping the speed of bluegrass. Now, the strum of bluegrass, there's several different strums, but the strum you're going to hear the most of is the boom chaka, right? This, okay? So what is this? Well, it's a down pluck on the root note of the chord, boom, and then a down up on the middle to higher end of the guitar, chaka, boom, chaka, all right? And so for the G chord, all right, we're going to play this guy. All right, for the C chord, we're going to play off the A string. For the D chord, we're going to play off the D string. And And so you want to practice the boom chakas, as I call it. Oh, with the F. Now, if you play an F, you know, oh, do I have to get this root note? Well, a lot of people play this, you know, I call it the medium salsa F, this guy here, but they pluck the D string here, all right, which is an F. So you want to practice. All right, kind of mixing and matching those chords. Now, this is our chord set. Again, plenty of bluegrass songs have the different chords, but a majority of them have this. And you'll hear that if they say, okay, we're going to play it in the, you know, key of A, they're going to move a capo on and still play the same chords physically. And there's a reason for that, which we're going to get into right now. When you're playing bluegrass, you're going to notice that a lot of guitar players put in some fills when the vocalist stops singing or pauses. You're going to hear stuff like this, you know, I'm singing this here song, I'm gonna sing it all night long. Okay, and so those fills, there's two things you want to keep in mind with these fills. Number one, they come straight from the G major pentatonic or G major blues scale, which we'll talk about in a second. Also in the video I'm pointing to right here, all right? The idea is when you're doing a fill, and somebody's singing, you want to keep it on the low end of things. You don't want to get up high just yet. All right, so you're going to see like E string, A string, D string, and some G string. All right, that blues scale. You're going to see this stuff. Like I do, but anything on that low end is going to be absolutely fine that you make up. If you watch Billy Strings, right, you're going to see him sing like this, and you're going to see his first finger. Sorry, I'm getting an angle. In between his vocals, he's going to sing da 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 da. I'm going to sing, we'll do another fill. That was shameful. There it is, all right? And so that G blues scale gives a lot of flavor to it. So when you're, you know, when you're playing with someone and they take a breath in their vocals, you can put in a nice low fill. Now, before we get into scale work and stuff, I just want to talk about things you see. When you're changing chords, you can also lead into chords. I see this a lot in bluegrass, and leading into chords is really fun. What do I mean by that? Well, all right, you have a G chord, and say you're going to a C. It is not unheard of to, you know, focus on your C, go 2 frets back, and walk into it. So you're going to hear stuff like, sorry, that was my doggy. Stuff like this. So you can see I was going 1, 2, 3 up to the root note of the C, and 1, 2, 3 to the root note of the G. For the D chord, you know, the D is here, so you have to visualize this. So 2 frets back is C, C sharp, but instead of going to this D here, we'll go to the open D. So you're going to see stuff like, all right, it's fast, but that was the boom chaka. And some leading lines, all right? And so you can come up with your own chord progression of G, C's, and D's, sometimes some F's to give it that, what we call the flat 7 feel, all right? And put fills in when the singer is not singing, and you can put some leading lines in there. All right, now we're going to talk about playing lead guitar in bluegrass. There are several rules, actually 2 rules you really want to think about. There's a very specific scale you want to use. That's rule number 1. Number 2, we want to try not to repeat things, and I'll explain that as well. When you look at the chords G, C, and D, you know, everybody's going to say, okay, that's the 1, 4, and 5, the key of G. Let me play a G major scale. Whoa, sorry, that was my dog. Just going crazy. She's got the zoomies. All right, so you have, everybody's going to think about the G major scales. It scared me. Okay, which would be, you know, but that's not the scale we use. We use this hybrid G, like blues scale that I talk, G like Mixolydian blues scale, hybrid blues scale thing that I talk about in my strumming, going from strumming to playing video. All right, so let me show this to you, all right? It's 3rd fret, G, open A, 1st fret, B flat, B, open D, 2nd fret, D, which is an E, you have your F here. All right, open G, A, B flat there, B, you can use your C if you want to, trust me, use a C, D, E, F, and G. This is a hybrid scale. It's a G major pentatonic. It's got the major third and minor third. It's got the F in it, which really, you know, is paying homage to the F chord, but also this G Mixolydian feel. We don't have to get into it that much, but this scale is going to save the day. Now, if you come in guns blazing with it, you might get lost. So the best thing to do if somebody says take a solo is to play and then play the G major pentatonic first. And then once you get comfortable, all right, and you can kind of like play around. It's going to give you the feel of it. Now, I said don't repeat stuff. And you said, well, Ian, you just went. Yes, what I mean by that is don't repeat the same 2 notes back to back. You don't want to go like, or, you got to keep on moving. And if you have a 3-note phrase, like, you know, you can repeat the phrases, but you just want to go like, it's just not what we see a lot in bluegrass. There's a lot of movement. So if you're soloing, right at the end. That's okay. So hopefully all these combinations of things go into bluegrass. You can sit and play by yourself. You can construct your own little one-man bluegrass. And if you want to do that, you can do that with me on Patreon. You can kind of listen to your favorite bluegrass songs. Maybe if you need to slow them down, you can do that on YouTube. You know, you can play with them. If you know the chords, you can put those fills in if you want to. You can try a solo a little bit. Yes, you're going to see guitar players all the way up here. It's nothing different. It's just up here. So, bluegrass, right? Usually 1s, 4s, and 5s, and the flat 7, G, C, D, and that F. And we can call it that. That's totally cool, right? Fills that are based in between the vocals. The G hybrid kind of blues scale for your fills, and also walking lines up into chords as well. And taking solos, you can start off with your G major pentatonic and kind of bring in the flavor of that scale. Hopefully you like this little tiny like cliff note version of bluegrass. Yes, there's so many different types of bluegrass, so many different types of feels. Like I said, this is just a fastball right down the middle. Hopefully you hit a home run. All right, talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.